It was almost impossible to believe what we saw with our own eyes. Today we arrived in Oklahoma, expecting damage, yes, but nothing could have prepared us for the scale of devastation that greeted us. The wild hogs had already made their presence known here, and what they left behind was nothing short of shocking. As we stepped onto the land, we found ourselves standing in the middle of what looked more like a battlefield than a working farm. Fields that should have been rows of green and gold were now shredded, dug up, and turned inside out. Deep ruts carved by hooves cut through the soil like scars. Crops were either missing or flattened. Irrigation lines were ripped up like spaghetti, and fences once sturdy and proud were snapped like twigs. The destruction wasn't isolated to one area. It stretched across property lines, across entire communities. What made it even more disturbing was how methodical it seemed. These hogs didn't just pass through. They had rooted, dug, fed, and torn apart everything they touched. You could see the chaos in the way the ground had been churned, section by section, row by row, like they knew exactly where to strike to do the most damage. The farmers we met were exhausted. Some were angry. Others were just stunned, too tired for rage, too defeated for hope. Many had spent months nurturing these fields, only to watch it all vanish in a matter of nights. We've seen destruction before, but Oklahoma was different. It was personal. It felt like the land itself was crying out for help. These hogs didn't just destroy crops, they shattered livelihoods. And for us, that was all the motivation we needed. The hunt wasn't just a response, it was a necessity. The people here had suffered enough. Now, it was our turn to strike back not just with rifles and tactics, but with purpose, unity, and the resolve to make sure this level of devastation doesn't happen again. Not here, not anywhere. We had barely arrived when the action began. As soon as we stepped onto the property, still shaking the road dust from our gear and checking our scopes, we spotted the massive wild hogs right there in the open, like they owned the place. These weren't small, scrappy stragglers either. These were giants, thick, heavy-bodied, with tusks that gleamed in the morning light and shoulders that could plow through brush like a bulldozer. It was a shocking sight, so many of them, so bold, roaming freely across fields they had already started to tear apart. Some were grazing, others were rooting aggressively into the soil, flipping it up as if daring someone to stop them. And that's exactly what we were there to do. Without hesitation, we dropped to position. Our team moved quickly but calmly, spreading out to form a wide angle, communicating with quiet hand signals honed through experience. These first few minutes are always crucial on the wrong move, and the entire sounder could vanish into the brush, leaving only churned up earth behind. But today, luck and preparation were on our side. The hogs were distracted, perhaps overconfident from weeks of unchecked damage. In just moments, we had lined up clear shots. The first boar dropped instantly clean, ethical, and efficient. Another tried to run, but was intercepted before it reached the tree line. Within minutes, a handful of these destructive giants had been brought down. It was fast, precise, and deeply satisfying, not just in the thrill of the hunt, but in knowing we had immediately made an impact. Every hog taken out meant fewer crops destroyed, fewer fences wrecked, fewer nights of worry for the farmer who owned this land. That quick success set the tone for the rest of the day. We weren't just reacting to a problem, we were reclaiming ground, one clean shot at a time. And from the very first moment, it was clear we had come at the right time, and we were ready. Today was one of those rare days when everything just seemed to fall into place. From the moment we set foot on the land, it felt like luck was riding with us. The weather was clear. The wind shifted perfectly in our favor. And the hogs, normally elusive, clever, and quick to scatter, were unusually active and exposed. We didn't have to wait long. Within the first hour, we made contact with a sizable sounder moving through the lower field near a line of scrub oak. They were busy rooting, distracted and unaware that we had already flanked them. With precise coordination, we moved into position, And just like that, the first takedowns began. Shot after shot, our team worked in sync, each hunter playing their role perfectly. It wasn't chaos, it was calculated, efficient, and remarkably smooth. As soon as one group was cleared, another cluster emerged just over the rise, giving us another opportunity to strike. It felt almost unreal. Usually, there's a lot of waiting, a lot of tracking, and plenty of frustration. But today, the hogs came right into our zones, and we responded with calm precision. Before midday, we had already downed more wild hogs than we typically do on a full hunt. It wasn't just our shooting that was sharp, it was everything. Our communication was clean, our gear worked flawlessly, and even the terrain-off and a challenge in itself seemed to open up paths exactly when we needed them. Every time we thought the run of success might slow down, another group of hogs appeared on the horizon, almost as if daring us to keep going. And we did, again and again. By the end of the day, the tally spoke for itself. We had made a serious dent in the local population, and every hog we removed was one less threat to the nearby farms. Days like this don't come often, but when they do, they remind us why we keep showing up, why we push through the tough hunts and long nights. Because sometimes, when everything aligns, we get to see what a truly successful operation looks like, and today was one of those days. About a week later, our mission brought us far north to the vast, frozen wilderness of Alaska. The moment we arrived, we knew this hunt would be nothing like the others. The entire landscape was blanketed in thick snow, with drifts piling waist-deep in places and temperatures dropping well below freezing. The air was sharp enough to sting your lungs, and every step through the snow felt like dragging concrete. In this icy terrain, every movement required twice the effort and 3 times the patience. And the wild hogs? They were still here tougher, more cautious, and harder to reach than ever. Unlike the open fields of Texas or the brushy woods of Oklahoma, Alaska's terrain is a challenge all its own. Deep snow-muffled sound that made visibility difficult. Every ridge, every patch of forest, every depression in the land could conceal a hidden group of hogs waiting in silence. The cold affected everything, our weapons, our gear, even our bodies. Fingers went numb quickly, optics fogged up, and boots filled with snow no matter how tightly they were sealed. Just navigating through the terrain to find tracks was an ordeal, let alone getting close enough for a shot. And yet, the signs were there. Rooted up patches near thickets, fresh trails pressed into the snow, and the occasional deep grunt carried by the wind. We knew they were close, just out of reach, buried in the natural fortress of Alaska's frozen wilderness. The hogs had adapted to the cold, using the snow for camouflage and shelter. They moved slowly, deliberately, avoiding open spaces and sticking to the thickest cover. It made our approach painfully slow and mentally taxing, but we pressed on. Step by step, we carved a path through snowbanks and frostbitten branches, determined to finish what we started. The conditions were brutal, but the mission hadn't changed. The farmers in Alaska faced the same threats as those in warmer states, and their fields, though frozen now, still needed defending. This wasn't just a hunt anymore. It was a test of endurance, of grit, and of our unwavering commitment to protect the land, no matter the season, no matter the storm. After several grueling hunts across different terrains from the dry fields of Texas to the frozen wilderness of Alaska, finally reached a moment of reflection. Looking back on everything we endured, every challenge we faced, and every mile we covered, one thing was clear: our efforts had paid off. Over the course of just a few missions, we had managed to bring down nearly 100 wild hogs, many of them full-grown, massive, and dangerously destructive. These weren't just numbers. Each hog represented one less threat to a farmer's harvest, one less predator tearing through fences, water sources, and native habitats. For us, that's what counted. The results weren't just impressive, they were hard-earned. Every single hog on that list came through teamwork, precision, and relentless determination. From early morning stakeouts to midnight tracking in below-zero temperatures, we pushed through fatigue, injury, and brutal weather to protect the land and the people who work it. We hunted in blistering sun and blinding snow, through mud, ice, thickets, and wind. We moved silently through the dark with thermal scopes, coordinated complex drives with radios and drones, and adapted our tactics to each new environment. The total of nearly 100 hogs isn't just a statistic, it's a turning point. It's a message to every farmer, rancher, and landowner out there who has felt overwhelmed by this crisis. You're not alone, and this threat can be pushed back. It also sends a message to the hogs themselves. Their days of unchallenged destruction are numbered. Of course, we know the work isn't finished. The problem is far from solved, and the population will continue to grow unless consistent effort is applied. But for now, we've taken a major step forward.
Confined to remote forests or rural backlands. Today, invasive wild hogs, also known as feral swine, spread across the United States, from the fertile farmlands of Texas to the quiet suburbs of Georgia. With explosive reproduction rates, unmatched adaptability, and a natural instinct for destruction, they've become one of the greatest ecological threats modern American agriculture has ever faced. Now numbering over 6 million and rampaging across more than 40 states, these animals don't just tear up crops, uproot soil, and devastate native ecosystems. They boldly push into cities, rummaging through garbage, threatening pets, and even causing serious traffic accidents. What used to sound like scenes from a sci-fi movie, packs of hogs storming highways or tearing up golf courses in broad daylight, hogs now become part of American reality. So, what's really happening? How did a species once introduced for sport hunting spiral out of control and become public enemy number one for farmers and conservationists alike? And what's being done or not being done to stop this silent invasion? Join us as we dive into the world of high-stakes hunts, where farmers take up arms, trappers deploy drones, and entire ecosystems fight to survive against the most aggressive invader America has ever known, the wild hog. As the first rays of dawn pierce through the morning fog, we edge closer to the Fielder once thriving patch of farmland, now on the brink of devastation. From a distance, the ground seems to ripple, but it's not the wind, it's them. A massive sounder of wild hog easily numbering in the hundreds moves like a wave of destruction, rooting, digging, trampling everything in sight. Corn stalks lie shredded. Irrigation lines are torn to pieces. Fresh seedlings, carefully planted just weeks ago, are gone without a trace. This isn't just crop loss, it's livelihood turned to chaos. Every minute we hesitate, the damage multiplies. There's no time for fences or warnings. These hogs aren't afraid of humans anymore. They've adapted, they've learned, and they've grown bold. If we don't act now, the entire field will be unsalvageable by the end of the day. Armed with rifles, thermal scopes, and the hard-earned lessons of previous encounters, we press forward with grim determination. The plan is quick and coordinated. Push them toward the tree line, cut off their escape routes, and neutralize as many as possible before they scatter. A single sow can birth a dozen piglets twice a year. Letting even a small group escape means they'll be back, and next time, they'll bring more. The stakes are more than just crops. These feral swine threaten the delicate balance of entire ecosystems, driving out native species, contaminating water sources, and spreading disease to both livestock and wildlife. But for the farmer standing beside me, rifle in hand and jaw clenched tight, It's personal. This is his land, his fight, and today, we take it back one hog at a time. After clearing the first field, we regroup and shift our attention to a neighboring area the locals call the Wallow Zone. It's a low-lying stretch of land near a dried creek bed, overgrown with brush and riddled with trails carved out by countless hooves over time. As we approach, the air gets heavier, still thick with the pungent smell of mud, musk, and destruction. Then we see them, towering figures among the shadow's wild hogs of staggering size.